Welcome everybody. Um, hopefully everybody's enjoying some acceptances and just trying to figure out, all right, how can we make this thing more affordable? How can we go get, where do we go get scholarships elsewhere? Did we get a good deal? Can we get a better deal? That's what we're here to talk about today. And really through the next couple of months, that'll be our focus. Specifically for the class 2025, this stuff is really helpful, even if you have a younger kid. Certainly, if you got somebody already in college, I think there's some things that you can actualize based on what we talk about here. But class 2025, you guys are kind of in the throes of it. But if you can confirm or deny our suspicions, just put in the chat. Are you class 2025 or is your kid class 2025? And then where are you at in the world? We always like to know that. We're always it's always cool for us because we're always very diverse geographically. So Ventura, California, hope they're okay. Yep, 25's here.
All over.
Houston, everything's bigger in Texas. Essex, Mass, right down the street from me. Beautiful. North Shore, babe. West Virginia, beautiful. Awesome. Yeah. So look at, I think this is a great start here because I think you all, and certainly Kevin and I will get the most out of, the next hour here with as much kind of interaction as possible and back and forth. And this is a great opportunity for you guys to ask the questions that are keeping you up at night, even if it's not related to the task at hand. Whichever one of us is not talking, this is kind of a quick shift to our kind of housekeeping instructions. Put your questions in the Q&A because whoever's not talking, we're going to be living in the Q&A. We will get to as many questions as possible. I'm just telling you right now, I'm gonna pump us up a little here, Kevin. You're gonna be hard pressed to stump us. We've been around the block a couple of times. Between the two of us, we've worked with thousands of families. Ben, we've worked with every school that you've heard of. I promise you that. So, again, I think, and we hope it's a unique opportunity to get questions that you have answered. Again, even if it's not necessarily down the fairway with what we're talking about today. So we'll do kind of brief introductions, again, housekeeping stuff, and then kind of get right into the content, which is what you guys are here for. And again, that's private scholarships. And how do I get more money from these colleges that I've been accepted to or I'm hoping to get accepted to? That's what we're here to talk about today. And then we're going to start like we always do with just a kind of Cliff Notes version of meta level. Remind me how this whole thing works again, right? And kind of where we are in this process. But my name is Matt Carpenter. I'm one of the founders at College Aid Pro here. Class 2025 is a very cool class for me because it's a 20th class that I'll have shepherded through this process. It's all I know professionally. This is all I've ever done, all I plan to do. I'm addicted to it. Glutton for punishment. But it's very hard work. It's very rewarding work, right? It's something we say all the time, like, no kidding, you're freaking out. It's your kids and your money. The two pretty provocative things there. So when we can provide some clarity, some transparency, make this thing more affordable for people, that's about as good as it gets. And that's our job. You're in great hands today with my partner in crime, Kevin. I know most of you or some of you that are repeat probably used to seeing me with Peggy. Peggy, God love her, the fairy godmother of financial aid. She's on a well-deserved vacation. But again, Kevin is, especially when it comes to appeals, and I don't want to put him in that box. You're working with a Jedi Master here. So again, this is the person that you want on here. Riding shotgun with me. But I'm just north of Boston here at our office in Salem. And then Kevin is down the shore, right? DTS, Kevin, in New Jersey. So if you want to say hi quick and introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of dive in.
Thanks for the introduction, Matt. And hey, everyone, I'm Kevin Murphy. I echo a lot of the things you said in regarding to I'm addicted to this. College financial aid is what we live and breathe. I was in the the financial services side of the industry, and I left. I came into the financial aid world, and I wouldn't trade it. I honestly don't want to go back into financial services. I love financial aid and I have a big passion for it. So yeah, but nice to meet everyone, and looking forward to the call.
And away we go. All right, beautiful. So again, put your questions in the Q&A. For those of you new to Ask College Aid Pro, pretty clear mission here, pretty hard mission, right? Ending the student debt crisis. How do we do that? It's in the beginning. This isn't the best picture of you, Murph, to be honest. I've seen you.
I
Uh,
think it's flattering.
um, so, guys, if you haven't done this already, I know you got a note from us. Make sure that you create your free College Aid Pro account. Okay. And I'm putting the link in the chat right now. I just threw it in the chat. Use that link. We'll show you exactly how to do this, but why you should be kind of living in this thing, living here at this stage is we're going to tell you, did you get a fair award? What is the likelihood you could go and do better and how much, etc. Again, I'll show you exactly how to do that in a second here. But Kevin's just going to talk you quickly through. We're going to zoom out real quick before we zoom back in and talk about the task at hand.
Thanks, Matt. We have some good questions coming in the Q&A already, which is great. So there's a couple of different types of financial aid, and just big overview, right? Big picture. Financial aid is a discount. Financial aid is a discount off of the cost of college. And the sticker price for college that we refer to, and you'll hear us talk about, is the cost of attendance. That includes, basics for transportation, books, personal expenses, you name it, in addition to tuition fees, room and board. Now, the ways that colleges discount are with need-based grants. So those are exactly as they sound. That's free money that the colleges give to families based on the information provided on the financial aid forms. Then there's merit-based scholarships. Those are based on your student, right? So that's based on their academics, their GPAs, test scores, and so forth. And then the last type is self-help. So self-help will be through loans like the federal direct loan, $5,500, and work study, usually a few $1,000s. It's not free. You either have to work for it or earn it or pay it back. All right.
Something I always like to flag here is that the one part, the self-help kind of bucket in financial aid, you're guaranteed to get so long as you complete a FAFSA, right? Now, is it what we want? Is it free money, grant scholarships? No. But we recommend that every single family take advantage of what you're entitled to there. And it's a meaningful amount, 27 grand over the course of 4 years. But again, you got to do the FAFSA to at least be eligible for that. Sorry.
100%. FAFSA CSS profile for school requires it. You have to submit the financial aid forms. And if you haven't and you're on the call, there's still time to do it. Now, how do you know what you're eligible for? So I referenced the cost of attendance, that full price, the sticker price of the school, minus your student aid index. So your student aid index is what the colleges and the government think you can afford to pay each year per student. And you'll get this after submitting the FAFSA, right? So you'll actually be able to see your student aid index and have a good idea. That being said, our software too, you'll be able to see your federal and institutional student aid index in there. And the difference between the two, the difference between cost of attendance and your student aid index is how much financial aid your family qualifies for. It's your family's financial need. Now then it's up to the college to meet a portion, all of that, a good percentage of that number. Now, it's okay if you don't qualify for need-based aid. A lot of families we work with don't, right? And need-based aid is just one avenue for money. Now, so merit scholarships, which we briefly touched on, that's a big thing, right? You want to make sure that you're looking at a college that will discount and award, a student merit scholarships based on their talent profile. Now, to qualify for those merit scholarships, some colleges do require you to submit the financial aid forms, the FAFSA, the CSS profile, just to get a merit scholarship. It's important to think, big picture in terms of what schools are and aren't offering merit scholarships. No Ivy League school offers a merit scholarship. NESCAC schools don't, right? A lot of the big public schools that are super popular, like Penn State, they don't often offer much, if any, merit scholarships. Now, one of the ways to get more is to leverage competing schools, right? And that's something that super beneficial to make sure your student has competing colleges on their list. And if merit scholarships aren't an option, an alternative would be a value school. A value school would be like Baruch, so CUNY schools in New York, as well as schools like Purdue, $45,000 a year. I know that's kind of tough to say that $45,000 a year is a value school, but it is similar to the cost of a lot of in-state schools. Also, public honors programs like University of South Carolina, they offer big scholarships if you're in the honors program. So that's another way to help with the cost of college if you don't qualify for need-based aid.
Give me
Anything
one
on that there?
second here. Yeah, I'm getting some great questions here. And this question is probably it applies to a bunch of folks, right? Of like, we got accepted, we told there's a scholarship, and this happened, several weeks, maybe even months ago, and we're still waiting on a financial aid award. Some of these colleges, it's quite literally months, lag time before you get a full financial aid award for any number of reasons, and it could just be standard operating procedure at the school. What I can tell you is there's zero harm in contacting the financial aid office to say, hey, when can we expect that? You're not bothering them. You're not being whatever hurting yourself in any possible way. And that's good for two reasons. Number one, to just double check and, hey, do you have everything we need, right? Sometimes, for example, Syracuse was a school in question. They usually only send communication, and Syracuse isn't alone here, via the students' portal, right? They call it the MySlice portal at Syracuse, right? Where if they were waiting on an extra 1099 for parents, guess how they're going to communicate that? Through your students portal at the college. So you have to be like a hawk in not only checking email communication home to you as a parent, but also reminding your student or students. We always recommend like a shared email, right? Just to have some additional accountability there. And then just reminding them to check their student portals too, because even mission critical updates, requests, etc., this is the only place that it's sent to. So there's a world in which that financial aid award has been posted to your portal, your son or daughter's student portal already here. So okay, so little sidetrack there, but still very much relevant. So Kevin had teased this for you. I did the same, and this is for those of you, and I saw most of you have done this already, which is awesome. You've created your MyCap account, so before you've even. So if you've accepted the Syracuse University, and Kevin, I'll stay out of your way here if you want to talk through it here.
Yeah,
But
no,
leveraging it.
yeah, for sure. So it's important to keep in mind and make sure that when you're doing this and you're creating your MyCap account, you're actually taking the time, you're making sure that what's in your profile exactly matches up what was on the financial aid forms. Do you want to screen share that for 1 sec, Matt?
Oh, sorry, am I not sharing?
No, you are right there. Just yep.
Oh, yeah, just to go
Yeah.
in. Yeah, yeah.
So make sure that this lines up exactly how your financial aid forms were filled out, right? So assets, income, all that stuff is identical to, let's say, the CSS profile.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really, really important. Now, when you're looking at the colleges, we're giving you cost projections for each of them. So you've got the sticker price and then you have the net cost. That net cost is based on the numbers up top. So you see your federal student aid index at 25,000.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good.
Okay. Yep.
But then you see your institutional student aid index. And the reason there's a range between the 15 and the 39,000 is because some of the schools that use that formula factor your home equity. And for this example, we put 600,000, I think, for home equity. So
Yep.
that's why you see that range.
The other variable here for this family, Murph, is that they are this is a split household family,
Household.
right? So yeah, so these parents are divorced. So some of these schools that use the institutional methodology, they will look at both households, right?
Okay.
Others will not. Vanderbilt is an example where even if you're divorced, they use the institutional methodology, but they're only going to look at the custodial parent, right? Whereas the federal schools that use the federal SAI, no matter what, we're only looking at one household.
Really, really good point. Thank you for mentioning that. And that's another thing too that could be addressed as part of a financial aid appeal, right? If the college is using both households and both households don't truly represent your who's paying for college and your ability to afford college, you need to point that out. But anyways, back to net cost, right? So the net cost is based on that student aid index. And if the net cost that you're seeing on your financial aid award is significantly different than what's in our software, right there would be the basis to appeal, right? Something's off, whether it's a need-based grant or a merit scholarship. Do you want to scroll down a little?
Yes.
Right, so you want to go in here and you want to make sure that you're uploading your financial aid offers. So for every student, or excuse me, for every school that you have in here that your student gets accepted to, make sure you go in there, you upload the offer that the college sent you, and we're going to break it down, right? So we're going to help you see essentially what's your out-of-pocket cost, what's remaining for you, And then also we're going to help you see if you have a good chance to appeal. And you can see here, Boston College, there's a strong chance to appeal, and Tulane as well, right?
So,
So, go
and just kind of doubling down on and to be redundant here because we want to hammer home like this is arguably the most powerful part of our technology, right? That you guys have access to. We are playing watchdog here to say, did Boston College give you what they said a family that meets your profile should get? Now, to Kevin's point, your inputs have to be accurate, but if they are, guess what? Our projections are going to be accurate. And Boston College is a great example because they are very consistently, and that's probably being generous. They very consistently under award families, and on average, it's about $10,000, right? Times that by 4 years, we're leaving 40 grand on the table unless we go back to them the appropriate way. So leverage this, right? You're just going to upload your award letter, right? You take a pic, upload the PDF or the JPEG or whatever it is here, and then we'll tell you, did you get a good deal? Now, a lot of you, to your point, you're still waiting on financial aid awards, right? But if you have your full offers, put them in here. And when you do get them, put them in here because it's incredibly powerful and just a great way to have some real substance when you go back to these colleges to ask for more money. Here's what can be confusing here. A lot of people, and again, not to pick on this one question here, but it's a good one that I'm sure a lot of you are experiencing. You get accepted, right? Awesome. You find out you've been offered a $10,000 scholarship. Awesome. And you think that's kind of the offer. And so you go to upload it here, and maybe our system rejects it, right? Something happens, it doesn't upload successfully. That is actually just your acceptance letter with your scholarship offer. It is not your full financial aid offer. Now, usually the kind of hint between how am I supposed to know if it's a full financial aid offer? Because guess what? It is confusing. It will include, I said it earlier, if you complete the FAFSA, your student at a minimum, regardless of your SAI, is guaranteed, is entitled to get up to $5,500 in a federal direct student loan their freshman year. So your kind of worst case scenario for financial aid offer is that $5,500 federal direct student loan. Okay. As soon as we see that offer from a college, we know this is it. This is kind of our actual award, or at least the first iteration of it before we go back and beat them up for some more. Okay. But again, guys, make sure you're leveraging this technology. Because it is something that's going to be a huge just tool in helping you get more money from these guys. Okay. Now we're going to go back to talk really more X's and O's around the appeals in 15, 20 minutes here. But I want to talk through best practices in terms of outside scholarships. Now, this is important because look at, for the most part, I'm going to oversimplify for a second here. But private scholarships internally, we all kind of roll our eyes around these, right? Because everybody talks about it. We get so much questions about it. And for the most part, guys, it's a distraction. Okay. Of all the financial aid that gets given out each year, roughly 5% comes from private scholarships. So for the most part, how we coach it is we say, okay, guys, we're going to spend 5% of our time going after 5% of the pie, right? Let's not take our eye off the ball, knowing that the vast majority of money, right, for the vast majority of families are coming from the colleges themselves. So that's where we're going to focus our efforts. Okay. Now, does every dollar count? Of course it does, right? Should we go and spend some time at least getting a couple extra bucks, right? That means we're not going to have to borrow, et cetera. Of course. But in terms of calibrating expectations, we generally tell people, like, if you're efficient with your time, you should be able to go get one, two, three, four, maybe $5,000 via private-based scholarships. And again, that's with just kind of minimal effort. But expecting much more than that and spending, crazy amount of time, it probably doesn't make sense given what the reward is that we can realistically hope for. Okay. Now, for the most part, the student should be owning this, right? We kind of look at it like this is a part-time job. And if you spend, 10 hours and you go get, $3,000 via your efforts, well, guess what? That's a pretty good part-time job. Okay. It's similar to the admissions process, but it's watered down in a major way, right? They already have this kind of package built. They've already done their personal statement, their essay. They've already had to pull kind of their resume together. So we're just kind of repurposing. Um, so yes, the students have gone through an incredibly arduous admissions process, which it is. I do not want to undersell that. It's a complete beast. So the last thing they want to hear was anything that relates to that. But again, if we're smart, and we'll kind of go talk about best practices in a second here, there's no reason why we can't grab a couple $1,000. If we're a senior, if we're class 2025, we were in the thick of it. Now is the time. If you haven't got moving on this front already, we should get going right now. But those are kind of high level things here. Now in terms of our again, kind of what I think are the just top 5 things to keep in mind when we talk about private scholarships. If I had to give one, this is why it's listed first. This would be my only recommendation for private scholarships. Shop locally. Okay? Shop locally. Fish where the fish are, right? I don't know. There's probably another clever saying that I could use, but by far the most reliable place to obtain private scholarships is in your community. If you go to a private high school, oftentimes you can double dip. Okay, your private high school, and again, in many cases, probably has a private scholarship fund. You can also usually apply through the community in which you live, even if you don't go to that public high school. Okay, on average, 33% of seniors will apply for their local scholarships. These scholarships have to be given away, right? They have to be given away. So if you have not heard from your school counselor, from your guidance counselor yet, I would proactively seek them out and say, hey, do you have, usually they have a link, and some high schools are still pretty old school where there's an actual physical packet. Those are, again, few and far between now, but usually there's a link to say, here's the Rotary Club, here's the fire department, here's the sports boosters, right? Here's all the local scholarships that you can apply for. This is where you want to focus your efforts, and now is the time to be doing that. Okay. Again, if you only look one place for private scholarships, let it be here. Okay. When we go to look at the national level, and I'm going to jump back in the platform here, we have all of the private scholarships that are out there nationally all in one place within your platform. Okay. We're pulling from the same database that Raise Me and Scholarship Owl and Scholarly and FastWeb. We're all pulling from the same database, right? So you already have this at your disposal. You're not going to get spammed to bejesus or anything like that. So let me show you again how I like to leverage our platform and how I recommend shopping for scholarships once it's outside of our community. So everybody has access to this private scholarship, part of the platform. It's about halfway down of your home dashboard, right? And here's how I coach it. This whole thing we look at is just like regionally. We're going to start, in our backyard, and then we're going to zoom out. Okay. So let's say that you are a resident of California. You can just put in obviously whatever state that you live in. You go to search, and boom, here's every single scholarship that I can apply for as a California resident, or as a Mississippi or Virginia resident, or whatever, right? And then you can just kind of poke through here, right? And see, okay, what makes sense? All right, well, that's interesting. This is females that are looking to go apply in the STEM fields. Okay, well, you know who you are if that checks a box here. Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, here's one with if you practice if you're a Jewish faith, right? Here's one that could be relevant to you, right? In a California resident. So again, just scroll through your state options, and usually you can find a couple that probably make sense to throw your hat in the ring for. Okay. And then when we want to zoom out beyond that geographically, I usually anchor it to a major or potential major, right? So if I know that I want to pursue, accounting, or that's what I'm thinking as of today, I just put that in there, and here's all the scholarships that are just for students that are thinking about going to pursue a degree in accounting, and again, or whatever it happens to be. So just put in some relevant factors there, and again, we can overlay that with, okay, and I know I want it to be at a 4-year college, and I'm a Irish American, and I'm Catholic, or I'm Jewish, or I'm Hindu, or whatever it happens to be. You can search just based on the stuff that is relevant for your family. So again, that's how I recommend it. We're going to start local, right? Then we're going to then when we're going to go use the platform and look more at beyond our community, and we're going to do it in an efficient way, right? Where we're not just completely throwing you know what against the wall here. If you haven't done this already, you might consider making a unique email again, just for kind of avoiding spam if you're going to look all over the place. If you've already created a unique email just for the admissions process, where oftentimes that makes sense if you're a parent and student to share one kind of family email, go ahead and use that, right? Because that's probably pretty recent. But that is something that can make your life a little bit easier. It's comparable to the admissions process where you got to kind of manage deadlines. If you miss one, it's over, right? Like so let's not you know, let's be smart about that, and just staying organized. We try to help you do that here, where in the platform you can like a scholarship and it'll be saved right through here. You can apply, right? You can get some more details for that scholarship and then link out directly to it if you think it makes sense to apply there. So we're trying to do our best to help you with the uh, you know process of applying for these schools. And if you haven't done it already, guys, you already heard a few reasons that don't even pertain to private scholarships. But a lot of these private scholarships, regardless of your financial aid eligibility, you got to complete the financial aid applications in order to be eligible, right? Some communities require the CSS profile in order to be considered for the local scholarships, right? I live north of Boston here. Marblehead's a town where this is relevant, where it's a really generous pool for that community, but you have to complete the CSS profile if you want to be considered for any of those. So those are the quick hitters, guys. And again, to me, the themes are let's calibrate expectations. Okay, you know, if we do this right, three, four, $5,000 is within our reach, and this is how to maximize our odds of getting in amounts like that. And do some kids get more than that? Of course they do, but that's just an incredibly small percentage of the population. So I don't want to set that as the norm. Okay. So hopefully, again, that helps you sift through a little bit of noise here. Now, this is just a you know another sometimes very frustrating part of this process. If you've never heard this term, scholarship displacement, basically what it means is, let's just go say you do go in fact win or you earn a $2,000 scholarship through your local Rotary Club. Okay. What's going to happen after May 1st is that the vast majority of colleges, it's almost 100% of them, are going to say, hey, can't wait to see you in the fall. We got your deposit. By the way, did you win any scholarships outside of what we gave you? Okay. And most families will say, yeah, we won $2,000 through our local Rotary Club. And they say, okay, beautiful. Well, we had given you a $10,000 grant. Now we can reduce that to 8,000 because you got $2,000 locally and ultimately you broke even. And of course, you need that money more than the colleges do. It does not mean you should not be applying for private scholarships. You should be. We're just kind of letting you know that this happens, that this exists. Not every college does it. Um, Usually, it does not impact merit. Usually, it just impacts need-based grants. If your college does it, and this happens to you, you need to be kicking and screaming. Okay, because this is absolutely something that is appealable. And in most cases, if you fight this vehemently, most colleges will say, okay, never mind, you keep it, right? Because I mean, because let's be serious, this is friggin' Bush League that colleges do this, right? It's a gross practice. Um, but again, most parents are completely blindsided, and you know, and I'm just telling you right now, and this is whatever you do, whatever you want with this. Most families that I interact with, if a scholarship writes them a personal check, most of the families that I work with tend to keep that to themselves, right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what not to do. I'm also telling you I don't pass judgment on the families that decide to go that route, because and again, in most cases, I know that they just need that money more than the colleges do, quite frankly, and that's what it's intended for. These scholarship agencies want these families to benefit, not the colleges, right? So Again, just kind of flagging that because we get a lot of unhappy customers every May and June when this happens, right? Um, okay, let me. So, I mean, look, Kevin and I are going to spend some time on this now, and these are just some. I'm not going to talk through each one of these bullets necessarily. You guys can see them here. These are just some best practices when we talk about how to appeal um, for more money with these colleges. But I do want to spend some time with this because it's important. Okay, number one is just a mentality thing, right? You need to have the mentality. Okay, yes, the colleges are nonprofit um, institutions, right? Not they're nonprofit, right? One might argue that they are multi-billion-dollar, very sophisticated corporations. Okay, they just don't happen to pay taxes. That's where the nonprofit kind of status comes in there, and they have very brilliant accountants. Okay, um, given that, right, our mentality, I'm going kind of up against in some ways. For this part of it, yes, we're going to go off to these colleges, have an amazing experience for 4 years, but until we sign on the dotted line, we want to get the best deal possible. And so we want to have the mentality that no, we're not going to accept the first offer. Okay, so we are always now we can't use the word negotiating, but no make no mistake, that's exactly what we're doing. We have to use the word appealing, and that's important. Might sound like it doesn't matter and it's just nomenclature. Who cares? I'll tell you who cares. These financial aid counselors, okay? They're friends of ours. They're on our team. They're a sensitive group, and they don't like that word. Um, but we can't just go back and ask for more money. The level of sophistication, okay, of your appeal will draw a straight line in terms of how successful or not that appeal is. Okay. So first of all, where do we even appeal? Who appeals? Okay. Now, every college, right? You guys that follow along, you hear me say this every day. These colleges are businesses. These colleges are businesses, and they each run their businesses differently. And it is up to us as the consumer to understand how business is done for the colleges that we are targeting, right? Whether we're appealing for more aid or scholarships, one school, three schools, we have to understand exactly how they do business. So that's the first thing. How do you appeal? Is it a really kind of blasé appeal process like many schools? Write us a letter. We'll meet as a committee, and that's it. Is it a UPenn where basically they make it harder than applying for financial aid to put your appeal in? Is that by design? Of course it is, because they want to deter people from appealing. They want to make it very hard and have a lot of layers and kind of red tape to cut through here. But generally speaking, if we're appealing for more merit-based scholarships, we are doing that with the admissions office, and it should be the student that is the loudest voice in the room. This money is being given to the student. They don't want to hear from parent or parents. They want to hear from the student. That's who they are investing in. They have these admissions counselors have the control of the scholarship purse strings, and they're motivated, much more motivated, to give them to students that are involved here, not parents. When it's need-based financial aid, again, generally speaking, that conversation happens with the financial aid office. And this one usually makes more sense to come from parent or parents, right? This is when we're talking about, okay, well, how did you value my business? Because I want to have an argument with you about that. How did you value our primary residence? Are you one of these colleges, like a lot of these institutional colleges that counts the equity in our home fair game? What did you guys use for a value? I want to challenge you on that, right? We lost the job, or we had an anomaly of a year. We took a distribution in 2023. We've got separated or divorced since then, so our situation is radically different. It makes sense that these conversations are coming from the parent, and those are happening with the financial aid office. But we want to bring color to it. When we say tell your story, that means bring color to it. So me and Kevin are really fortunate, right? Because some of the colleagues on our teams, the director of financial aid at Harvard, the director of financial aid at MIT, the former director at USC. So we get to kind of peek behind the curtain and hear directly from them, basically what makes us give more money. And Ryan Callahan, he's the director of financial aid at Harvard. I can say this because he's a buddy. He's a robot. He's a very calculated dude. Okay. But he will even say, and I always like kind of laugh when I hear anybody pulling his emotional, heartstrings or whatever, didn't even know they existed. But he'll say, it's always kind of jarring for me when I hear families say the best day of my life was when we got accepted, the worst day was when we saw our financial aid offer. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to go tell my kid that the school that they earned the right to attend, right? They did their job. 18-year body of work. They got into this school, and I'm like, now do I have to go tell them we can't afford this? And all the shame and guilt and just nasty feelings that can come up with that. Um, Bringing that conversation to their attention, right? Bringing that color there. And then we got to spoon feed them data to give us excuses to give us more money. Ask for a specific amount. Do we always ask for a specific amount? No. These are again general rules, but oftentimes it makes sense to ask for a specific amount. Again, we have to spoon feed them data to turn the SAI down so they can turn the need-based grants up if it's a need-based appeal. You valued our home at this. No, it's this. You valued our business at this. No, it's this. You didn't count these deductions from our business. They're legitimate. We're going to fight you on them, right? So this and that's kind of where the sophistication comes in for the actual data points that we're going to pull that are going to vary from one family to the next. And of course, good old fashioned persistence, right? I had one just recently where it was just a dead end at WPI. But guess what? It was quite literal, good old fashioned persistence. We're fine at the end. You know what? We don't want to lose you. Here's 5 grand. That's 20 grand, right? That's 20 grand untaxed over the course of 4 years. So those are some important talking points. We have to know who should be driving this. Is it the parent? Is it the student? Is it both? Who are we having the conversation with? Is it with a specific person in those offices? Is it just the office in general? Right. And again, how is business done at the college that we're talking about? And then there's the timing. Do we do it now? Do we wait till we have better offers? Right. Again, guess what the answer is? It depends, guys. Right. It depends. That'll vary based on your situation. It'll vary based on the school that we're talking about. Um, but those are some important things that you need to be thinking about and some kind of best practices here. And what I'm gonna have you so Kevin, I talked to him at the beginning. He's kind of a Jedi when it comes to appealing. He's had I don't I actually I was trying to do the math, Murph, and I know I don't know all of them, but you have several 100,000 that you've got in so far this season. I'm like, you're probably approaching 1 million and maybe you're already there. I don't know in terms of your total successful appeals at the moment. But to the extent that you can share, why don't you talk us through this appeal at BU? And I know there's a couple of iterations to it, but you can see what they got initially, guys. BU, they're only $90,000. They got what's essentially amounts to nothing, which is this $3,500 in federal direct student loan. Which, by the way, they're guaranteed to get 2,000 more if they ask for it. But we were after a whole lot more. So why don't you just talk us through this one?
Yeah, perfect. So, sorry. By the way, real quick, I've been answering a million questions in the Q&A, and I appreciate all the questions. There's some great questions, but there are some things that I can't answer this quickly without knowing more details or anything like that. We're gonna drop a link in the chat. I'm actually gonna put it in now.
Good.
Let me grab it real quick.
It's a good point. As you're doing that, I know what you're going to say. I can kind of finish your sentence and
Yeah.
you could let me know if I'm off base here. But it would be reckless for us to answer some of these questions. Like I got a great normal question right off the bat. Should I appeal now or should I wait until we get all the offers back? And I was saying, and it sounds like I'm a politician answering that question, but the fact of the matter is, it's um it's too early. I would need more information, right? What schools are we talking about? What are the top choices? Do we have a better offer from competing colleges? What does that look like? Is this merit? Is it need? All of those variables is going to dictate my answer to that question. So we a lot of these really good questions were like we would just need more information to tell you here's the answer to that question, how we can help or what you should do beyond that. But Murph just put his link in the chat there where you can book a 15-minute call with him where he'll just quickly be able to say, this is a merit appeal, this is a need appeal. Here's how we think we can help you, or good luck out there.
Exactly.
Okay.
But so thank you. You
Yeah.
did exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Now, on this appeal, it was really interesting. And I don't want to give too many details, but I will say this, that, last minute family came to us, a student applied early decision. Big question we've gotten, can you appeal early decision? Yes, you can, right? You can appeal those financial aid awards. Um, rental properties, change in income, lots of factors in this situation. They got nothing up front, right? They got $3,500 of self-help. Now we do the appeal, and after we do the appeal, it didn't just take one appeal, right? It actually took two appeals. They at first gave 28,800, and the family was super excited. They probably would have said yes, but it didn't seem like enough given the circumstances. So I encouraged them to push again. They pushed again, and they got another almost 16 grand. So I'm using round numbers here, but a total of almost $45,000. It made the difference between this student being able to go to Boston University or not. We've seen other situations. Another family got $50,000 extra from Tufts. So we've seen similar appeals. This is not just a one-off, crazy circumstance. On the surface, even some folks on our team looked at the information for the family and didn't see an appeal, right? You really have to dig deep. You have to figure out what's wrong, what's on the financial aid forms, and what you could actually use to explain to the college a way to get them to really either lower the income or lower the assets that they're using to calculate this award. So, definitely a successful result here.
Yeah, so and look, we're talking about the difference between the kid could go or the kid could not go, and almost $200,000 over the course of 4 years. But this is just a good example of there's so much subjectivity in this process, right? Yes, it's formulaic, but so much of it is interpretation. And guess what? Most of these colleges, if you have rental property or you own your primary residence, they're going to think it's worth more than you think it's worth, right? And they are just going to package you based on their interpretations, right? And they are on the other side of this equation, and that's not a knock on them. That's just the deal, right? This is a big kind of business transaction. So first of all, this family had no idea why they didn't get anything. So that we were able to say it's definitely down the rental property. Here's how we frame it in such a way to get it more in our favor. They come back with something very substantial initially, but then this is where we're able to use the technology too to say, no, we should actually get more if they come down to numbers that we think we can justify. Right. So that's where it's really helpful to have our platform too, to say, well, if they get the numbers that we think are more aligned with our reality, we should get this much more. So again, it's just kind of a good example here that is it a big one? Of course, it's a huge one. Should everybody expect to get 200,000 more dollars? Probably not. But this is something that, to Murph's point, this isn't the one crazy anomaly that we pulled out of left field. We see these things way more than you think. And a lot of it, for example, if you're divorced or separated and you are going to one of these institutional methodology schools that requires a CSS profile, they're not supposed to count step parent income and assets. Guess what? They do all the time. So again, I'm just kind of riffing here, but that's an example of things where we can go and say, wait a minute, nah, this does not align with what this college should be doing. But guess what? Consumers don't know that. They're completely in the dark. It's a black box. There's no transparency in this process. So it's our job to cut through that. So we always share this at the end, guys. Appealing is will not hurt your admissions offer. I've been doing this for 20 years. Again, I've worked with tens of thousands of families. I have never, ever, yeah, I'm not guaranteing anything, and things could happen in the future. I've never seen a college rescind a admissions offer because somebody asked for additional money, right? Now, no, let me also caveat to say we don't recommend that people are jerks, right? Something else that our financial aid counselors would tell us, like, if you're a jerk, right? If you're a jerk, they will literally say, like, I don't want to deal with this person for 4 years. Why am I going to give them more money? Right? Like, I'd rather they go somewhere else. So that's where it really is important of the spirit or the tone of of this conversation is one where you want to motivate these financial aid counselors to say, damn, how do I make it happen for this family? Like this is a good family that just is dying to come to the school. It's just that the price is not right now. How can I help them as much as possible? Right. That's where we want these admissions counselors and financial aid counselors um, coming from. Right. That's how we maximize our odds of being of having the most successful appeals. So here's what I'm going to do. This is something that actually was kind of Kevin's baby here, but I support it because we've got some massive proof of concept. So I'm going to put this link in the chat here. But if you're a family that's like, class 2025 family that is either waiting on an offer or has got one that you're not thrilled about, and you want to make sure that we maximize your odds of making sure you're getting every dollar possible from that school, we recommend that you take advantage of this kind of package that we're offering right now. Number one, we're going to take over the appeal process. So we're going to tell you, it doesn't matter how many schools, we're going to tell you, is it merit, is it need? And you're going to have as sophisticated as appeal as you can possibly have, right? And specifically, you'll be working with Kevin here. Part of that, he's going to review your FAFSA, he's going to review your CSS profile, because on average, 75%, this isn't just coming from us, this is data driven. 75% of FAFSAs and CSS profiles have a mistake that end up costing people money. So we want to gut check those to say, hey, is there anything we could have done better, right? Assuming that those forms have already been submitted and you've received those. So our first job here is to make sure that you get a better deal from whatever college that you're attending, okay, or will attend. And then we're going to work with you. And people, uh, I think, don't value this part of our service as much as they should. We're going to tell you how to pay that bill. If you have to borrow, how do you get the lowest possible rate? Because you guys have probably heard some whispers in what's going on with the Department of Education, potentially with some of this stuff. It's going to further complicate things, especially when it comes to the lending piece of the puzzle. So if we have to borrow, how do we do that the right way? Because that's such a massive swing on ultimately what you end up paying for college. If we have resources, do I use my 529 up front? Do I spread it out over 4 years? If grandparents are paying, how do we think about fitting that into our puzzle, right? So essentially, we're going to grab the wheel from now, right, until your kid's moving into the dorm this August, and making sure that you do every piece of that puzzle right. So what we're charging for that is our kind of standard rate is $17.99. If it's something that you decide to do as a result of this presentation, you get $300 off, right? It's $1,500, for that service. You're going to see an ROI on that, guys. Probably a few different times over at a couple different layers here. If you want to sign up, if you want to sign up because you want to work with Kevin, you can do that right through the link here. You're just going to say I'm ready, and you click on that link. You add promotional code, which is appeal 300. You apply that, it'll take your $300 off, and we're off to the races. You'll hear from Kevin and our team today. If you're like, look, I just want to kind of gut check this, book a 15-minute call. Kevin will do some quick kind of fact gathering. It'll be either Kevin or Jason. Those guys are tandem, working together side by side every day here. But Kevin or Jason will talk to you for 15 minutes. Get the lay of the land. Is this a merit appeal? Is a need-based appeal? Are we still waiting? Right? Because maybe you're still waiting here. And give you a recommendation. Can we help you? How much? And you can kind of gut check that before you move forward with us. Make sure you take advantage of that today. I think we're only offering that today, so schedule that today, or you have to schedule it today, even if you don't meet until tomorrow or at some point this week. But again, this is a really important part of the process. We love it. We're very good at it. We get to be, obviously you'll be working with Kevin, but he'll tell you, I'll tell you. I think a unique part about our team is that we get to leverage everybody on our team, right? So if we're dealing with the big state flagship university, guess what? I call Mike Kinderman. He's the director of scholarships at the University of Oklahoma. And those big state schools all operate in a similar model. If I'm dealing with MIT. Well, I don't get to work with Josh because Josh works at MIT, right? So the only schools that we can't leverage are none of these guys can negotiate against themselves, but I can work I can leverage Ryan because he used to work at MIT, and Harvard and MIT have similar models, and you guys kind of get the picture there. But that's something that I think allows us to be very successful because we get to leverage just our organic network here. Um, so yeah, at a minimum, right? Talk to one of these guys today. Let them know, you know, kind of what's going on and how we can help you, and we'll be able to provide some more insight as opposed to this chat, right, where we can't just get kind of give immediate recommendations. Um, but would I miss Murph? What do you want to add?
No, nothing. I mean, that you kind of nailed everything. The 15-minute call would be to see if you qualify for an appeal. And, at 14.99, if you think about some of the examples we gave, the advice we can give on student loans, you're guaranteed to see an ROI. So, take advantage of that. We are trying to limit this. So if you're interested in either scheduling a meeting or signing up, please do it today. I know that promo code also has an expiration on it as well. So it won't always be 14.99. But
I think it's Friday. I want to say it expires. I believe. Do you
yeah,
know? I think
I
it's
believe Friday at midnight. Jared said it there.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
um,
and look at, but let's not lose sight of this. As much as we're in the throes of it right now. If we're talking about appeals, guess what that means? Your kids got accepted into college. So we got some massive victories that hopefully you're able to celebrate to an extent, even though it's pretty overwhelming with how we're going to pay for this thing. Did we get a good deal? Totally get it. But congratulations are in order if we're even at the appeal stage. So that's don't forget to pat yourself on the back, pat your kids on the back. It's such a challenging, overwhelming process here. And then, yeah, Murph put the 15-minute link in the chat again. I'll put it there again. But we're trying to make this great accomplishment just a little bit better, right? Can we just make this hard, this high cost of college? Can we bring it down? Right. Obviously, that's first and foremost. And then how do we make sure we're just getting smart about how we pay for that? And that's what we're here to help you for at this stage. Everybody will get the recording, guys. So everybody will get the recording. That'll go out later today or tomorrow. So long as you're registered, you will get the recording. And you know where to find us, right? You know where to find us with any additional questions that we didn't get to today.
we just had one more question about, do we pay in full or the payment plan? You would pay in full for this because we're doing all the work like right away, right? So we're going to get started. You're going to send in a FAFSA submission summary CSS. We're going to go over the appeal immediately. So you could have results in a few weeks. So we are not offering a payment plan for this.
Yep. All right.
All right,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. See you.